Hey, welcome back to Rusted Junk Garage. Well, we're out in the garage today and we're going to brush up on our soldering. We've got a fuel pump replacement that we're going to be doing in my '03 Heritage Softail. And I believe I'm going to have to do solder a couple connections for the power for the new fuel pump that's going to be inside the fuel tank. So we just kind of want to practice on the soldering a little bit and see how we do to make sure we have a good connection in the fuel tank because these are going to be submerged in fuel. So that's what we're going to do. Let me get set up here and I'll show you what's going on. Okay, we got our little soldering station set up here. We're just going to use this little handheld soldering gun here. And we got the wire set up. We intertwined it and twisted it together. That's kind of the way I was taught to do it. Preparing for a solder joint. We're going to be using 1.8% flux core 8mm solder. And also we're going to use the rosin paste flux on that. So let's get this thing set up here. We're going to use this stand here kind of as our holder, and hopefully that'll work okay and you guys can see what's going on. All right, first thing I want to do is take the tip of my gun and just get it into this flux there a little bit. That kind of cleans the tip and stuff. And then I'll take a little bit of the flux and my special flux applicator here because I can't find my brushes. I don't know what I did with those. And you apply that liberally around your copper wires that you're going to solder. All right. That should be adequate. Okay, one thing I like to do is I like to apply solder to the tip of the gun, and then I bring the gun up underneath. And with that hot solder, it really gets that flux moving, and it takes the solder in nicely. So let's get a little bit on the gun here, on the nice tip there. That should be pretty good. And get myself enough solder here to get this joint going in. So we'll just bring that up right there. You can see the flux starting to do its thing, and we feed our solder onto that. All right. Let's give that a minute to set up. Looks like it turned out to be a pretty darn good joint. We'll let that set up for a second, and then we'll take a look at it. All right, there is our solder joint. Looks like we got decent penetration all the way through. That's real solid. And we were just using this little soldering iron there, which is still on. So let me put that in there so I don't end up burning myself. So what I like to do now that this is cooled down and I give it the pull test, I like to use a heat shrink on that. But before I heat shrink it, I like to use some of this. It's dielectric grease. Okay, I take a little bit of dielectric grease You don't need very much. And just put it over the actual solder joint. Spread it around kind of liberally. Don't have to be too careful about that. And then we'll get us a piece of heat shrink that I think is the proper size here. And we just take our heat shrink and slide that over about halfway on both sides. And then bring out our heat gun with the reflector shield on it. Plug that in. Now we just take your heat shrink, letting it shrink down on there. You actually see it pushing just a little bit of that dielectric out on the ends. Okay. All right. Here's how that turned out. Good solid solder joint, ready to go into the fuel tank on the Harley. Not this one, but one real close to it. So we thought we'd show you how we're going to do that and make that a nice waterproof, basically, seal for fuel pump use in the Harley and give us many miles of enjoyment. Thanks for joining us, Rusted Junk Garage. Like, subscribe, and don't even be afraid to comment either. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.